Good. That's a start because I'm going deaf. So names are hard. This talk should probably start with an open rant tag because it's a rant. Names are hard. People have lots of them. Oh, we're on mouse click for slide to advance, are we? Thank you, Keynote. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm, for want of many other name representations, I'm Mike Whitaker. I'm currently defying IR35 by doing 3 job contracts at once. Previously been with GoDaddy UK2, BBC iPlayer, Love Film, and various other sports sites, and I suspect a sizable fraction of my ex-colleagues appear to be in the audience. So, the important takeaway from this, names matter. How you represent the store them matter, the problem domain matters, and people actually care about their names. For those of you who are thinking, oh, is he about to regurgitate a certain well-known online article? No, but please go and read it because it says a lot more than I do and will probably cause you to hide your head in your hands at some of the strange things that happen with names. But there's one very important takeaway from that document, which I'm going to say at the beginning. Anything someone tells you is their name is by definition an appropriate identifier for them. You do not get to say what someone's name is. If your code doesn't accept someone's name, it's not their problem, it's actually yours. So, what's a name? Okay, everybody's first database implementation. Don't laugh. Go look over there. Right by the door. I took that photograph this morning. So, what's wrong with this? What's right with this? I mean, look. Okay, I'm Michael Whitaker. That's 7 characters, 8 characters. No problem, right? Anybody recognise this character? Nobody read the Molesworth books? Basil Fotherington Thomas, or if you believe that database, Basil Fotherington. Yeah, but yeah, that's an assumption. That's an assumption. Anybody know who that is? Yep, correct. Raymond Joseph Teller, except he isn't. Legally, he's Teller. So you're stuffed. And legally, he is Teller. I bet that gave the US passport system kittens. Because there's this American assumption. People have middle names. Anyone know who that is? That's Theodore Roosevelt. In order to get his name on most American forms, which appear to talk to databases that don't know about null, he is Theodore NMN for no middle name. Roosevelt. No, I'm not joking. Okay, so next step. Let's do middle initials instead because they're fine. He then becomes Theodore NMI, which doesn't fit in a varchar 1, but never mind. Okay, so a better attempt. Okay, this is reasonable. It's going to lead you to some nightmares further down the line, but hey, from my problem space, how big should something be? Cricket fans may recognise that. That's Indian umpire Venkat, whose full name is Srinivasaraghavan Venkataraghavan, and I practiced that one. 33 characters, no problem. Oh, let's move on to a well-known Sri Lankan fast bowler. Has the interesting property that his initials have more letters in than his surname. The surname is a bit of a construct we're going to worry about. He's got 57 characters in his name. This chap, I actually pulled from Cricket Archive's player database. He's a cousin of Queen Victoria. He actually plays cricket. And he's got 91 characters in his name. This is about the point at which I went select name from player multiply length name descending. And the top candidate is a Sri Lankan domestic player who also has more initials than he has letters in his surname, and he's got 114. All I can say is, thank God this bloke doesn't play cricket. One assumes this is contrived. What scares the crap out of me, he has a son with a similar name, or daughter, who knows? So, what's in a name? How hard it can be to validate a name, right? let's say, all words in name must have length greater than 1 because that allows for woo and ho and a few other Oriental names. Anyone know who that is? It's Harry S. Truman, whose middle name is S, because he had 2 family members with Christian names beginning with S, and he couldn't decide which one to honour, so his parents gave him S as a middle name. Lovely. Okay, so fine, we can go over that. Names, letters and spaces, right. Welcome to Irish cricketer Kevin O'Brien. Fail. And for those of you who are long-standing cricket fans, the slowest batsman in English cricket, Chris Tavares. Right, okay, so we can't use words. We're going to have to go on to at least, come on, this is 2024. We're not going to stick with Latin 1. We're going to do Unicode. His purpleness. Prince. I quote, Unicode does not encode personal characters nor personal logos. Actually, you can do this at a pinch. It's Latin capital T with a hook, plus combining ring above, plus combining short stroke overlay, plus combining caret below. I thank you. Well, actually, I thank an Italian gentleman by the name of Marco Cimarosti, who clearly has far too much time on his hands. Next. Okay, next thing, names are unique. Oh boy. This was easy. I just went to the player database. Only 66. Mushtaq Ahmed, only 40. I know for the fact from the player database there's at least 24 Pakistani cricketers by the name of Wasim Akram, and only one of them is famous. But then you get the reverse problem of not just are names unique, is this the same person? And because humans are fallible. Or to be fair, humans sometimes do things differently. From my problem space, this is quite a fun one. We often get scorecards in from small domestic games in Pakistan, where the collector has been collecting names written in Urdu and transliterated them. Transliterated? Yes, something like that anyway. And the problem with this is that not everybody's view on how Urdu translates into Western alphabets is the same. So Mohammed Hussain could come out as any of these. And when you get 2 cards from 2 different weeks, and you want to know whether the guy who played this week is the same as the guy who played in the under-19 game on the other side of the country the other week, help. And this takes us on to the next question, which is, what do you want to do with names? Now, my use case is cricket scorecards. So I need to be able to uniquely identify a player, and ultimately you just give up and the player table has a numeric primary key, and you do the best you can via human interaction to match names up. We probably need a short name for a profile page, because obviously that you really don't want the Sri Lankan domestic player with 115 character name to have that as his bullet page title. You need the full name because it's another way of legally identifying people. You need names on scorecards, which I'll come to in a bit. We don't currently need salutations, although I can conceive of a use case where we could sell players their stats from our websites, at which point you need to be able to say, dear Jeff Boycott, here are yours, and you need to know how to address the envelope. So let's look at the profile page. They're pretty much the same. That's one of my current employers. That's one of my previous employers. We have a full name and something that we are essentially calling known as. And there are still people out there who naively think that given a full name, you can construct a known as. Meet the England captain. Yes, I've heard the test match score and I don't want to talk about it. Benjamin Andrew Stokes. So easy. We construct full name by taking the first name and the last name. Except he prefers to be known as Ben. So, all right, so we'll call all Benjamins Ben. There's at least one player in county cricket who wants to be called Benji. So, programmatically deriving, it gets worse. It gets much worse. We'll move out of football. Anyone know who this is? Correct. What's his full name? Take first the last name and you get Fernando Diaz, which is not what he prefers to be known as. So that's great. We'll say, fine, anybody Spanish Obviously, that's the correct word for Spanish people. Anyone know who this is? I'll tell you. It's Pablo Picasso. And he likes it the other way. Although he's also a mononym and he sometimes likes Picasso. Fine. So we end up starting to think maybe we should have some kind of thing that says this is a Spaniard who prefers this sort of. Then we get people like this. Anyone know who this is? Yeah, somebody around here was wearing a Ferrari backpack, and I expect them to know. It is Carlos Sainz Vasquez de Castro, for which we take the first and second names. Except we don't, otherwise we get his dad. And worse still, let me introduce you to three gentlemen who are currently playing for the Sri Lankan one-day side. They are respectively Asitha Maduskana Fernando, Winaharamiga Inol Avishka Fernando, and take a deep breath, Nisha Madushka Fernando. And their general preferred known as are respectively Asitha Fernando, Avishka Fernando, and wait for it, Nishkan Madushka. Now, I should point out at this point that I am not in any way saying, look at the funny foreign people with the funny names. What I am saying is, look at the people whose names don't fit with your preconceived ideas of what names should look like. Well, we don't keep track of names on shirts, which is probably a good thing, because here's Ben Stokes with a Stokes shirt that says Stokes, and here's Nishkan Madushka with a shirt that says, you guessed it, Nishan, because that's his family name, not his given name, because Sinhalese names are not in the same order as Western names. Oh, if you're going to store shirt names, don't forget to allow for this guy. But to be fair, I mean, I inherited some code when I started working for CrickViz, which made a valiant attempt to get the general sort of concept of known as right, which led to code like this to get the last name. And there does actually come a point where you just say, you know, we're going to do the research and we're going to find out when we put the player name in the database what they prefer to be known as. So this is big takeaway number 1 or 2. The semantic meaning of the elements of name are at the very least culture dependent. So don't assume, because, and don't even think about what order you sort them into. I mean, this is another entire problem, because not only are sort orders dependent on what you've got in terms of, well, Mr. Nishan Madushka, who is probably sort under Nishan, and Mr. Stokes, who sorts under S, but that sort order could be different depending on what language you think you're talking in when you do the sorting. Okay, next problem, and this is the bane of my life. People's names change for more reasons than you think. People get married. I don't expect anyone to know who this is. She is the first woman ever to score a century against the men's Premier League team in the UK, interestingly against the team my son used to play for. This is Aaron Brindle, who used to be Aaron Thompson before she got married. So, of course, let's add a maiden name field in the date of marriage. And if anybody thinks that is the right solution, just take yourself outside and have a word with yourself, please. People's names change for any number of reasons. And this is the classic example. I'm not expecting most people to know who that is. It's a Pakistani cricketer by the name of Yusuf Yohana, who, amongst my fraternity, which is the people who do cricket stats and computers, has given his name to the problem. This is the Yusuf Yohana problem. Because in 2005, he converted to Islam and changed his name to Mohammed Yusuf. You may think, why does this matter? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Cricket scorecards. Cricket scorecards have conventions. They have many conventions. They're conventions largely set by a little bunch of people who sit in offices who are even bigger nerds than I am, called the Association of Cricket Statisticians and Historians. And they are to allow us to handle things on cricket scorecards, where you will note that by convention, the batting side's names usually have initials The fielders don't, unless, for example, you have two fielders with the same surname but different first names, or however that happens to be in the culture they come from. But that's fairly conventional, based no matter what. The first one's Cricket Archive. This is Cricinfo. This dates right back to good old CFAX, with the caveat that because of the character's text size restriction, we don't show initials unless we have to discriminate. And that goes right the way back to the newspaper, because they were trying to cram as many cards onto one tiny column of newsprint as they could, hence the... So that's accepted. There are basically two things that are accepted rules. Minimum unambiguous names-ish. Mostly because we tend to go with full initials, even if we could discriminate on just the first initial. And the other one is that conventionally, you record the name as it was at the time of the game, which means that anything before 2005 should say Yusuf Yahana, not Mohammed Yusuf. Similarly for Aaron Brindle, for Nat and Catherine Silverbrunt, etc. So we end up with basically a subtable of players, which has a player ID that points back to the actual player, a full name and known as, a long scorecard name and a short scorecard name. That one has the initials, that one doesn't, or various variants depending on culture. We have a sort name so we can sort it, see previous comments. And then we have a valid from and a valid to date, which note can be null. Wisely. If they've never changed their name, they're both null. If they've got one name change, then for Yusuf Yahana, valid to will be 2005, and for Mohammed Yusuf, valid from will be 2005. And that gets us most of what we want. I say most because I can find some really fun people who make this harder than it should be. These two women play for the West Indies. They are both knights. They are Kaisia Akira Knight, born in 1992, and Kaishona Anika Knight, also born in 92, because they're bloody twins. They both play for the West Indies. So we've had to add an extra level of discrimination, because if only one of these turns up, they can be Knight. If her and, say, Stephanie Knight turn up, they can be K Knight and S Knight. If she's playing in the same team with her sister, which happens several times a year, then we actually need to go all the way to at least Kaisia Knight and Kaishona Knight. And then this young lady came up to throw a spanner in the works. She's a New Zealand under-19 player. She's quite promising, which means that she might at some point turn up in franchise cricket in the Caribbean Premier League, playing in the same team as those two. And she is Kelsey Alana Knight. So she's much younger, but problems. I blame the parents. This cropped up in our Slack not so long ago on CricViz, and basically caused most of us to burst into tears, as three sisters have now started playing for the United Arab Emirates. They've all got nearly the same name. Just shoot me now. And we've just also had a pair of Malaysian twins turn up as well, playing for the same team at the same time. So we'll go back to this, because if you take nothing else away from this rant, take this away. Names are culturally dependent. If somebody tells you their name is whatever, that's their name. Storing it, if it fits within your problem space, is your problem, not theirs. Backslash rant, really. Thank you. And I'll leave you with a few more entertaining highlights from the player database with our long scorecard names. And the absolute killer, wait for it, the very last one I found and just went, really, is Her Royal Highness, the Princess Beatrice, who has been a referee in an over 50s counties game. I despair. Thank you very much.